Howdy, everybody. Bob Tallman for No Spin Rodeo. No politics, no BS, just hard-hitting news and rodeo commentary from two of the most trusted sources in our sport. Kendra Santos, Tommy Joe Lucia. Listen up. Here we go.
Good afternoon. It's October 28th. It's the year of 2025. This is episode 82 of No Spin Rodeo. Welcome, No Spinners. Welcome, everybody, to this Tuesday's edition of Rodeo Without Any Politics. I tell you what, though, I sure like it. I don't know Miss Santos, who, everybody knows is our co-host and the First Lady of Pro Rodeo Journalism. I don't know if you've noticed it, but it feels like fall across the country. We had a northerner blow in. The wind's out of the north in Texas. It's cooling off. It's National Chocolates Day, if you like chocolate. It's First Responders Day, tribute to, which who doesn't appreciate what our first responders do for us? And it's Vote Early Day. So you can have yourself a chocolate, stay safe with the first responders, and get out there and vote and do all of this. Oh, so we've got a picture of, actually, that's Whiplash, but AKA Daisy. That was the absolute first monkey to ride a dog in the Tommy Lucia Review, and her name was Daisy. She was a cowgirl.
Okay, well, I was getting an assist from Daisy to have you shut the hell up on Chocolate Day or whatever you were talking about. Anyway, the only good news about two house floods in the last recent years for me is that I ran across, because I have a 2-year-old granddaughter that has blonde hair and Swedish like my mother, and went into my office storage the other day and said, this is a mess. So now I'm going through some old boxes that I haven't seen in 30 years. This is where this picture shows up. And by the way, so this is from when I packed up my office 30 years ago. The first time I left PRCA, yes. But there's a story here. For one thing, this went in, because this is back in the dark ages when, all my tenure there, we used to do the sports news twice a month, every 2 weeks instead of once a month.
Well, hold on. Now, for those of us that are listening just on the podcast, Kendra just flashed for all of us that are watching this live a picture that said Tommy Lucia Review, and it was the original Whiplash. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just telling you that the picture that I just flashed at you, Tommy Lucia Review featuring Whiplash the Cowboy Monkey, for one thing, it ran in the March 30th, 1988 Pro Rodeo Sports News, back when I was the editor of Sports News. But what's funny is this box that I just ran across is from the day before I packed up. Part of what's in here. There came a day before I left because my baby boy wouldn't take a bottle, that someone in the PRC administration came to my door and told me I was always famous for, I had a glass top desk where you could put pictures under it. And so I was always sliding fun pictures that I take at the rodeos of cowboy friends and different things. And I had pictures on the walls of, friends, cowboys, right? And I was told to take every single picture out of my office because it showed favoritism.
Oh, well, how dare you? How dare you have any friends?
And yes, and so Whiplash, you're telling me her name was Daisy here, with her head cocked on the back of the dog, was hanging, and that was one of my friends that I had to take down out of my office.
Get that monkey off the wall. You're showing primal prejudice.
Yes. And I mean, Ty Murray, Joe Beaver, Fred Whitfield. Sorry, guys, you all have to go.
Well,
anyway.
Whiplash was up there with Ty and Joe. That's quite a thing.
No. this was not in a frame, but it was slid under the glass on my desk because I got such a kick out of looking that monkey in the eyes. So for those who are not as been around or whatever, this was your dad's monkey and dog.
It was.
So,
and that was Daisy. And she was, if you noticed in the picture, like she cocks her head and smiles. Like she's smiling in the picture. And that was what was fantastic about the very first Whiplash, Daisy, is she was so charismatic. She just loved people and loved entertaining. She was the one that would grab dirt and throw it at the sheep when she went by them. She was a great monkey.
My only Vietnam flashback of the Whiplash, I loved watching it. Run the barrels, all the stuff. The only horrific thing that I'll never get out of my, unless I take red hot pokers to my eyeballs, is the one day that the dog ran into the tongue of a trailer and cold cocked a monkey, and that was horrible. But
yeah, I saw where Dad in an article said that it cold cocked a monkey. I don't remember
it.
Well, but it didn't knock the monkey out. I was there. I think it sounded better. I think Dad thought it sounded better, but it did not. She bent. So we had a big row bar. So there was a big metal bar that went up. Okay, a giant bar that went up to about where the monkey's mouth was, and it served two purposes. One was actually when the dog went running too fast, it would tip over and roll over, and it gave the monkey a roll bar, right? So that the dog didn't roll over on the monkey. That was number one. Number two, well, it actually had three, but originally the number two purpose was, if you can imagine putting a saddle on a dog, right? And how their skin goes every direction. Those monkeys, when they ride, they have to push that saddle over when the dog's going 25 miles an hour, or the dog will roll every time. Does that make sense? Like the monkeys really, really had to learn how to ride. And because can you imagine riding a horse running barrels and the skin could move, 6 inches either direction? Right?
That's a belly roll.
That would be a belly roll.
Oh my goodness.
But that roll bar, actually, when that monkey went under that tongue, the dog hung up on that roll bar, right? And stopped him, and then he went on through. And so I don't remember it as cold cocked, but maybe that was the case. It was a long time ago.
Lordy. Okay. So just announced, and this is kind of fresh for everyone, and because I'm getting enough text messages and messenger messages with questions, NFR back numbers, I get similar questions every year, and they're totally legit questions. So I went to our go-to guy, Steve Knowles of the PRCA today, with a couple of clarifications on the NFR back numbers. And for one thing, I think one of the things that, of course, everybody's talking about back number one again. Stetson writes back number one again. He was last back number one in 2023. Last year, Shad Mayfield was number one. Now, of course, this duke out between Stetson in first and Wasey Shaw in second. But I think interesting to note, because it's all, if you're following every detail, like nerd girl here of the NFR, like, okay, so Stetson Wright in the world all around standings shows at 391,000. Okay. But his back number standings are over 515,000. And I don't know how many people are noticing this stuff, but it has everything to do with why, when we get into some of these fine points on the back numbers, it'll explain some things. So and the same with Wasey Shaw. Okay, so in the all around standings, he's at about 358. In the back number standings, he's at 488. Okay, that's $100,000 difference more, and it's because of a couple of reasons. Back numbers are decided on unofficial and official money, right? So for those who don't understand that, like when you enter a rodeo, you say this officially counts toward my world standings, or this is unofficial and doesn't. But even if you choose not to count it toward the world standings, based on the limits that are different for each event, as voted on by the Cowboys, that money still counts toward back numbers. So in theory, the number one all-around Cowboy going into the NFR, it's possible that that person could get the number 2 back number if the number 2 guy had more unofficial earnings. So the confusion typically comes, and another little tidbit that maybe I vaguely remember, but this hasn't come up in a long time. Team reppers now, since they started naming a world champion header and healer and keeping separate standings, if they're tied, which a lot of times they are now because they have equal earnings for the year, the tie is broken by who's been a PRCA member longer.
Ah,
They get
very interesting.
They get the lower back number. So I think that's very interesting. And so also of note, in the all-around, the reason that the world standings, guys like Stetson and Wasey have lower money than what shows for the back numbers is because to keep it even, no event counts more than 75 rodeos toward their world standings during the regular season. So for the all-around, only 75 rodeos count to keep it even for all the events, which makes perfect sense. But I don't think people stop to think about that a lot of times. And so like standalones where it's just in a certain one event, for example, Extreme Bowls, or standalones in any event, Brad Germanson's Burnock riding, those don't count toward the all around. Anyway, okay.
Hold on. I'm confused. Help me understand this. Originally, you said every dollar counted. Oh,
toward the back numbers.
Towards the back number, but not the all around. Not the all around.
Correct.
Got it. Sorry about that. Got it. Mm-hmm.
But that's a big discrepancy to have, if you think about it in the world standings, Stetson at 391 versus 515.
And it is interesting to me as I started scripting the back number show. Stetson has the number 1, but he's not the season leader in any discipline, which I also find interesting. Where typically, like last year, Shad, he's the season leader in tie down roping, which is usually the case in contribution, right, to the number 1, the all around or the season. So you got to remember during the bag number ceremony, it's actually the season leader, number 1, right? Because all around hasn't been crowned. So it's the number 1. We introduce it as the season leader.
Based on money. But the thing is, in Shad's example, he won such the lion's share of his money in one event. Whereas here you have both Stetson and Wasey qualifying in 2 events. They've won a ton in 2 events.
Correct.
They don't have to be number 1 in either event.
Yeah. So I think that's
here's a couple of examples that I'm just going to cherry pick. Dustin Agaswiza is lower than Clint Summers. Clint Summers is higher in the standings, but Dustin has a lower back number. It's because Dustin won about 10,000 more in unofficial money. And the same in the steer wrestling is just one more example before we move along. Bridger Anderson is higher in the standings, he's higher in the standings, but Chance Howard is lower in the standings and has a lower number in the back numbers. It's the same. It's because of unofficial money. So I think that's interesting. Also interesting to me is that the PRC and the WPR events are all thrown in the same hat. And then the rules apply to the breakaway reppers. Not the breakaway reppers, the barrel racers. No,
I was going to say everything but the breakaway, yeah.
Yeah, they have their separate deal, but the WPRA barrel racers, they follow the same rules. But here's a little asterisk. WPRA, they cannot count any non-PRCA sanctioned event toward back numbers.
Yeah, I'm sure.
WPRA barrel racers.
They're cracking down because they don't like it that some of these rodeos want to do invitationals. And so they crack the whip on that pretty darn hard.
Okay. And then Also interesting, one more little detail that I was curious about. Regular season steer roping money, even though they have a separate event, the National Final Steer Roping, does count toward NFR back numbers. That's kind of interesting.
Very interesting.
And then I also asked the question today, and we're going to get an answer. Back in the day, money won at the National Final Steer Roping counted toward the NFR all around. And so Noel's going to check on that.
For that year, right?
Yes. And this is interesting. The last couple of years, they didn't even order the the NFR all around saddle because no one qualified in 2 events. So that's pretty interesting. So this year there are 2 guys gunning for the NFR all around, and it's Stetson and Wasey because no one else is eligible. So.
Well, for those of you who don't know, the steer rope in NFR is at Mulvane in November, right?
Right.
Mulvane, Kansas. It's a cool event. If you like that, you should go. It's a casino hotel arena, and it's a fun little event. It's a mini everything of the NFR. They do their best to try to replicate everything that happens at the NFR.
I think it's great, and it takes me back to the days when we were working for the PBR when we all stayed at the MGM Grand. We all ate, slept, and went to the event right there inside the hotel. And I thought that was the greatest. Yeah. I loved that. Anyway, great okay. As the man behind the curtain at the NFR back number ceremony, are you at liberty to tell us any fun twists about this year, or?
Well, I guess I'll go ahead and say it. I guess they can fire me. We will be featuring the 1985 champions as a part of the ceremony, right? Of the overall ceremony, which I think is cool. So we'll be introducing and featuring the 85 champions. We remember you and I originally started the area for the family members. That will continue. Very well received. PRCA got a lot of pats on the back, and it was our idea. But, it doesn't really matter as long as it happened. That will happen. We'll have some showgirls, and it's going to be an exciting night. Now, the only other thing that will be interesting, little snippet for some of the no spinners we will kind of flip things around, and I think what I'm going to do is introduce the number 1 back number first. And we typically always do that last. So I think we're going to switch that around a little bit. But otherwise, very much the same. It'll be cool to have those 85 champions up there. And they'll be the ones that'll be handing out each back number to their discipline. So I think that'll be fun. And I don't know if I was supposed to say that or not, but that's all I'm telling you.
I think it's super cool, and for those who are like, well, why those guys? It's because this is the 40th year that the NFR has been held in Las Vegas, and because the first one was in '85, and then we had the one 2020 where we went to Texas, and then so that's where this year is number 40. And
your big guy Oates in there, Ted New, Charmaine, Germanson. I mean. The
Jake and Clay.
I know, yeah, it is super cool group of contestants, right? And a lot of these people don't even know who they are, right? So it's pretty cool. I think it's very fitting, and it's going to be a cool night. I mean, if you haven't been to the back number, since we've kind of changed it around, and it is a jam-packed, fun night. I mean, you can come early, get pictures in front of the backdrops. There will be Vegas girls out in the hallway for you to take pictures with, all your favorite cowboys. I mean, this is an event, like if you're true blue, this is, and some of the stuff, you and I have talked about it, some of the stuff that happens in the hallways as we're getting ready for this, because these guys are on edge. They're fixing to have their biggest competition. Some of them are experiencing a little bit of entertaining beverages. And, they're fighting off the pressure of the biggest 10 days of their lives in some case, especially the rookies. And there's a lot of crap that happens. And then all of the women, right? All of the wives, it's like an unwritten competition of who, and I didn't even know this. You probably could speak to this, Kendra, but you have to find an outfit, I guess, from what I understand, in both the award ceremony and the back number. You have to somehow find an outfit that nobody else finds and wear it there. And then if you see somebody in it, you get pissed. Is that the way the women thing works?
Well, listen, Fashion Week in New York City has nothing on the rodeo wives, girlfriends, barrel racers on back number night. It is like, whoa, smoke show. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
The,
like,
the barrel racers, when they walk up there, I've noticed that they look absolutely stunning. They really do. It's stunning.
it's true. And
Yeah.
people who 364 days a year don't wear makeup or take a blow dryer or a curling iron to their hair, like they have it done. And
What's that called?
it's really something.
That's called
Really
something,
something.
right? When you get your hair done, it's like a dry poof or something. Isn't there a name for that when you pay to have your
People, they might call it a blowout.
blowout?
Maybe.
Blowout. See, to a man, a blowout has a whole different connotation than that. But yeah,
Well,
okay. Well,
here's the thing. So what's weird to me is people have a blowout and then they don't wash their hair for like 4 days. And I'm like, ew, I want to wash my hair every day. So
see,
I'm not
if
that
a
cool.
lady comes up to me and says, "You're never going to believe it," right before the bag number ceremony, I had a blowout. I'm thinking, you got a problem, right? Not that this is a good thing. Okay, well, forget it. All right.
I thought you were going a different
No,
direction.
I was going that direction. So anyway, okay.
Okay. Okay. So, all right. So then let me just saunter on. The 2025 PRCA Danita Barnes Contract Personnel Lifetime Achievement Award 5 finalists were just named. John and Karen Kissel, Delia Walls, who's a rodeo secretary, Jim Sabota, rodeo photographer, Dwayne Reichert, clown, and Tommy Joe Lucia, who I'm calling the rodeo Wizard of Oz because he's behind virtually everything that goes on just about everywhere, including in Las Vegas. So first of all, big congrats on that. That's a big deal.
That's
a big one.
Thank you.
And I just want to ask you one thing, like, why is this particular recognition so, I can tell it's really special to you and like humbling to you. Why?
Well, it's because the award is based on people that have dedicated, if you look at the past recipients and even the current ones that are in it with me, people that have dedicated their entire life to this sport, right? They didn't just dip in, dip out, go on to a better thing. They started there and have been there and have lived it and breathed it. I mean, you look at Rump. So I can't think. Listen, when I got the call, I was like, what? Like, the furthest thing from ever was me ever being nominated for anything, honestly. Then I'm not trying to be Mr. Humble Pants or anything. That was the furthest thing from ever coming to my mind. I'm like, seriously? And they're like, yeah. And I said, what award is it? And they told me, and I said, well, that's the only award I would want to win. And I mean that. I think it's so, if you look at Danita Barnes, you're talking about a lady that went up and down the road, did everything. If you were a part of the Barnes rodeo culture, right? They were a traveling circus, and I mean that in a good way, right? Everybody did everything, right? And they put on a show for millions of people in a place where nobody wanted to put on rodeos. And she was such a mother. We talk about the mother figures. That was another one that I grew up around, Danita Barnes, right? Going into the secretary's office and getting those little mints, those, the round ones with the red, the old timer mints that you get in a Mexican cafe. She had them on her table, and she'd say, you better put about 3 in your pocket. And if you don't really have a mom and you're on the road, those women become very important to you. So it is I can say I'm honestly I don't care. I honestly don't care if I win or lose. It is fantastic to be nominated for that. And I mean that. I swear to God, I'm not full of shit on this. I'm being 100% serious. So
That's
thank you.
super cool. Very cool. And because I knew that Delia's a rodeo secretary, Jim, rodeo photographer, Dwayne, a clown, I apologetically don't yet know John and Karen Kissel. Do you know who those people are?
I don't. I was going to look that up. And I don't even know who votes on this. Who votes on this? The whole membership? Do you know? I don't know.
I do not know.
Yeah, I don't know. They haven't asked me to vote for me yet. I haven't gotten any ballot in the mail that had my name on it.
Okay. So, well, it would make sense to me if it's a contract personnel lifetime achievement that the contract personnel of the PRC would vote, but that's just what would make common sense to me, but I don't know.
Well, common sense isn't usually what applies, but go ahead.
Oh, now. Okay. Announced today, October 28th, the Justin Best Footing Award winners in each circuit. So I just want to name them really quickly. In the Badlands, Ag Expo Pro Rodeo, Watford City, South Dakota. California Circuit, Clovis Rodeo. Columbia River Circuit, High Desert Stampede in Redmond, Oregon. First Frontier Circuit, First State Stampede in Harrington, Delaware. Great Lakes Circuit, Sykeston J.C. Boot Hill Rodeo. Montana Circuit, Sanders County Fair and PRCA Rodeo in Plains. Mountain States Circuit, Steamboat Springs Pro Rodeo Series in Colorado. Prairie Circuit, Kansas biggest rodeo in Phillipsburg. Southeastern Circuit, 5th Annual White County PRCA Rodeo in Searcy, Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, Texas Circuit, Rodeo Killeen. Turquoise Circuit, world's oldest rodeo in Prescott, Arizona. Okay. And the Wilderness Circuit, Gooding, Idaho Pro Rodeo. So, congratulations. I think why it's important is obvious, safety reasons for horses and humans. I think a really interesting thing for me to ask you right now, as you being a behind the scenes guy in a committee, a rodeo producer, and I know Good Ground is really important to you, but for the committees who don't just happen to have an in-house volunteer ground expert, what are these people to do? Because everybody wants to keep everybody safe and have a fair contest. What advice do you have to those people?
Well, I wonder if the awards are given out on Most Improved, because there's a lot of rodeos out there that have really changed their culture as it relates to ground. A lot of rodeos, not just those that were listed. To answer your question, here's what's interesting. One would think that it just has to do with depth. And, there was a time when, as long as you had an Arena Works or a Black Widow and drug it around your arena, you were being sufficient in having the ground. But the amount of time that I've spent and that, so I think the very best person in our industry as far as understanding ground is Randy Spraggins and Specialty Tracks without an exception. Now, Kaiser, who invented the Kaiser tools, does a lot of things in the Western equine sports, the other things, and very, very good at it. But in rodeo and bull riding, Randy Spraggins, who I use exclusively, and I pay way too much money to get him there. But to your point, it has to do with temperature for that week, moisture in the ground, I can't even say the word, scarification of the hard pan. So, underneath the ground a certain amount, every arena has a hard pan. There's a place where the plow hasn't got to. Does that make sense? And if that is slick, right? If it's like concrete, well, you can imagine once, especially in the barrel racing, once they hit that same spot and move that 6 or 8 inches, they hit that slick spot and it doesn't change. So you got to get down. Like as you know, we've talked about it. We've stopped slack. Didn't realize that they were going to get down 11 inches to the hard pound. Went down 1.5 feet to break that up. And so moisture content, and like in Salt Lake City, for example, it's hot. It's 110 degrees and no humidity. So we literally put, I think it was 220,000 gallons of water in 5 days on the arena. Randy Sprankins handles that. So my point is there's so much to it. And here's the other interesting thing. People are like, because in my PBR days, I had dirt stockpiled in every market, right? And the people would come up, even the bull riders, and say, why is it that the dirt's different when you stockpile it? Well, it has to do, Kendra, right, with regions, right? In Salt Lake City, it's a desert. It's all sand. You got to bring clay in to get the right consistency. But you go to Iowa, it's that black, mucky, ugly, the stuff that gets on your boots, and every step you take, it gets 2.5 feet bigger till you finally can't walk anymore. And so when we look at these rodeos, that work so hard on their ground, for instance, like Sykeston and some of those places that are in this real clay area, they have to work twice as hard, right? To make that ground be good, because it's a higher clay consistency and less sand, unless they've actually brought in stuff. So my point is, in short, there's so much to it. When you see a girl, and here's the deal, you ask Spraggins, both Spraggins and I, what we look at is if the ground gets faster, right? If you want to sit back in your armchair and at the Cowboy channel and watch, is as they run, the ground gets faster like it does at the NFR the last few years. That means that someone's handling that ground well, right? They're getting faster as they're running on it, not slower. So little things, but yeah.
Well, and I do, we all notice, because is even on the Cowboy channel or in person, either way, that so many more rodeos are dragging big drag halfway through with a tractor. And
well, because
right,
the WPRA is actually trying to require that. I mean,
okay.
they're out there
It did not used to
fighting.
be the case.
It did not used to be the case, and they are fighting for it, and they should. Because here's the other thing that's interesting. You see everybody raking the ground. That's cool. I think it does help. Hand raking the ground. But they don't get down in the ground where the ground's actually shifted, right? It looks good. It probably helps some, but it's more perception than reality on what it really helps, in my opinion.
It's kind of cosmetic. The thing is, okay, well, and basically, when you, like in a typical perf at a lot of the rodeos now, when they're dragging after, say, 6 or whatever, halfway through, it gives 2 girls a chance to be top of the ground every perf, right? And so that, and okay, at the NFR, they don't do a big drag during the 15, right? So that's kind of an interesting PS,
15
and I know,
yeah,
if
I know. Can you imagine?
Interesting.
And 15 days in the desert in Las Vegas on a concrete floor to keep that ground good. Hats off to all the people at the NFR. Like, that is a real, like, they work all night long. People don't realize this. They go have a drink, they go to the after parties, they go to the buckle ceremonies. There are people out there that are literally working all night long so that ground is right the next day.
And I mean, I used to have always have a copy of the schedule. The schedule is like, holy crap. Does everybody not realize that they like wash the chutes and repaint it if it got kicked and all that kind of stuff? It's wild. Do you know if they recycle? They used to always recycle the dirt at the NFR from one year to the next. Do you know if they still do that?
Yeah, it's stockpiled. It was brought in. It's a custom mix, and they have to put it behind chain link fences and locks, because when the year that they didn't, a lot of it was stolen for yards. So now it's under lock and key. That stuff is very important.
It's interesting. And a lot of times, historically, a lot of people get the Vegas cred or whatever. And Tandy Freeman, he had a theory about that. that it had a lot to do with that recycled dirt, having mold spores.
So what, there's like the flu just stays in the dirt? I have to ask Tandy about that.
It's not the flu, but it's if it's mold spores or something like that. He's like, it's tough to be in.
I would have to say, Tandy, it's the fact that we breathe the same breath in those casinos, along with 500 gallons of smoke over and over and over again. Wouldn't you think that it's the smoke in the casinos that gives us the funk more than the dirt in the arena? Come on, Tandy.
Anyway, moving along. Okay, Cody Teal, 2012 PRCA World Champion Bull Rider, just announced, I think at 33 years old, his retirement from bull riding. Speaking of the NFR, Cody Teal rode in 2013 and 2015. He rode 8 of 10 bulls to win the NFR average those 2 years. And he also went on to have a lot of success in the PBR. So isn't it funny? It's like, oh, Cody Teal, he's been around forever and he's still only 33. I mean, it just tells you like that's a long career for a bull rider,
33.
But,
you look, there's a handful of PBR bull riders that are in their 40s. They don't belong there. I mean, they are anomalies, right? That their body's still there. I mean, if you look at the guys like Cody and all those guys, 33, 34, they were pretty much done. Even if they weren't mentally done, they were physically done, because those 18 to 22-year-olds are just kicking their ass. Yeah.
well, while we're on the subject of PBR, I feel like you just were at the PBR. Is it the PBR Teams Finals in Vegas, right?
Yeah, I went to the PBR Teams Finals in Vegas, and I'm glad you brought that up. So I was a little bit, let's say, lukewarm on PBR Teams. I mean, I was aware it was doing good, but a little bit lukewarm in my, I don't know, team anything in rodeo just doesn't, or bull riding, it just doesn't feel right initially, because it's an independent person's competition against an amazing animal. But let me tell you this, Kendra, and I really, I want to say it, but I can't. I'm going to admit that I was wrong. That event on Saturday night and Sunday, well, it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event, their Teams Championship, and I can go into a little detail, but I'm going to start it with that Saturday night was the best produced, most entertaining Western lifestyle event. No, well, it rivaled, let me put it this way, it rivaled the 10th round at the NFR. So I'm not going to say, now the production quality of it, given all the toys they have, was better, right? Because they've got the amount of lighting and video and stats and contract personnel. It's a well-oiled machine. Like the entertainment value of it was prime. I would say that, in my opinion, it was better than the NFR but they have a lot more toys to play with. The competition rivaled the 10th round of the NFR. And let me tell you why. It was just cool. So without going into the details, they have 10 teams in the PBR. And just for those of you that haven't even, they're like, screw it, we're not listening to Teams PBR. I'm going to go into a little 101 because I think it's actually interesting. These teams, there's 10 of them. They field 5 bull riders. They have some on their bench in case someone gets hurt. But they field 5 bull riders, and that's their team. And they go into the competition, and each team of 5 bull riders rides against each other, right? Kendra, have you seen it one at a time? So the Arizona Ridge Riders have one ride, the Rattlers have one ride. And it's simple. It's the highest amount of points on 5 cowboys on each team. So it just starts adding up. So it's really about qualified rides, right? You want those points. It's 5 against 5. And they do a round of 10, and that's a game. And the people with the most points, the team with the most points advances. The loser is done. Not necessarily done, but done. And so, interestingly enough, to try to make a really long story short, there were a lot of really good bull rides. I will give it to the PBR that the bullpens were better suited for the Cowboys, and those guys came to the teams in Las Vegas at T-Mobile. By the way, T-Mobile's a gorgeous facility. What a gorgeous arena. They had good bulls to ride, rank, but good bulls to ride. And here's what I thought was interesting. So they seed the teams like regular sports. They're trying to make it more like sports, which, you know me, I really appreciate. And so the number 1, 2, and 3 seed teams, the ones that had done the best all year long, they got buys. So on the first day, all the losing teams played to come, play on the second day. Well, to make a long story short and to not go over all the details, the last day, the 3 lowest seed teams were in the championships, right? The ones that had done the worst all year long made it to the championship. And the 3 winningest teams, which was, I'm pretty sure, the Austin Gamblers, the Rattlers, and the Ridge Riders, I think. Don't crucify me, fans, if I'm wrong. They played a game, right? All 3 teams had 5 bull riders, and the 1 team advanced on, and the Texas Rattlers did that. So the top 3 were basically out. 1 team, the Texas Rattlers, got in. So it's Sunday, matinee, and you've got the teams that haven't done that great all year long playing against the Texas Rattlers, who've done pretty good. They weren't smoking it. The Austin Gamblers, I think, had been the ones that were winning most of the year. And it's all about rides. Long story short, the Carolina Cowboys, and let me tell you why this is special, and I think you'll like this. The Carolina Cowboys win it. They've never won a team's championship. They're coached by one of my favorite humans ever. And so I don't want to get, and it's really a twosome. And that is Jerome and Tiffany, who is just as important, I think, to that team as Jerome. They win the championships, and they've got great bull riders. They've got Cooper Davis, Salgado, Winkler, who I'd never heard of, Kobaba, we've heard of him, Jess Lockwood, DeSouza, who's an older guy. They have a pretty stacked team, right? Well, Lockwood rode really, really good, by the way. In case you didn't know, he broke his collarbone at the team's event, so I don't know what that's going to mean for the future, but they won. And to see Jerome on that center shark cage, right, in his wheelchair holding that check, you're not human if that doesn't feel good to you. And remember, it's lose, go home, right? It's not aggregate, how you've done all season. You know how I am, and we'll get into feedback. A lot of fans of No Spin Rodeo don't like the way I look at it, but I love the fact that you got to play and win.
Yeah. Well, so for one, okay, Jerome Davis being the 1995 world champion PRCA bull rider, and also was making a lot of headlines when he was paralyzed in 1998 at Tufts event in Fort Worth. Lawn darted is the way I remember them putting that when he broke his neck. But so I was wondering is the team's final sudden death? Do they toss the regular season?
Well, they come in seeded, right? And so the first day is the lower seeds. It goes by wins through the season. There's 13 stops, and you have wins and losses, right? One team plays another. It's a win, it's a loss. Well, they see.
So all the regular season does is make up the bracket.
It sets the bracket up, and it's a bracket.
But then it's sudden death.
Then it's sudden. Well, it's kind of sudden death. That's not fair to say, because, for instance, the last day, all the losers played, and one team advanced. Okay, so everybody got to play that last day. One team advanced, and then the second day, the Rattlers were in there. The losers played and advanced. So it's sudden death. It's really sudden death on the last day, to be honest with you, because there's all these like losers brackets that you go in, and if you win, you get kicked back up into the main bracket. Does that make sense? So yes, it is sudden death, but the last day on Sunday, it's literally 6 teams playing, advancing, to 4 teams playing, advancing, to 2 teams playing.
So it sounds, I hear a little bit of like the Kid Rock deal, which had a lot of PBR influence, where some of the guys on the Kid Rock winning squad maybe didn't even go, or maybe either bucked off or or broke out or missed or something and still were on the winning team. There's some of that, right? Like you can
There
get
is.
bucked off and still be on the winning team,
And
which
still
is
get
an
paid. And still get paid.
interesting concept.
But
Yeah.
what was really interesting to me was, so the last day, the Rattlers came in like through they were a top seeded team and lost right off the bat. So they were in the losers bracket. They worked their way back up to the championship. And so there's 3 games, the last 3 games. The 2 teams in one of the games had 4 out of 5 riders ride successfully. Does that make sense? Both teams did, the Rattlers and the other team, and 1 advanced. And then the other 2 games, there was only 2 qualified rides. So technically, right, the Rattlers, because they played such another hard rival, to go 4 for 5 and lose by 2 points, like the Rattlers lost by 2 points out of 5 rides. Does that make sense? Out of 4 rides, excuse me. They rode 4 out of 5 bulls, but they lost by 2 points total. They add them all together. They actually did better. Does that make sense? Than some of the other games where teams rode 2 and advanced because the other team rode 1. So it's just really interesting. It's really interesting.
Well, I know we need to keep rolling to cover a lot more ground here, but I am curious how much money the Cowboys are making. Like, is it top heavy, or can you be on the 3rd place team and make something? Or those guys are all salaried, right?
They're salaried, and the average rostered guy. So there's, I think, 7 on the roster, 7 that are all, the average rostered guy in 13 events makes $150,000.
For how long of a season?
13 events.
13 events.
So that's probably, I'm going to say, no more than 30 head of bulls. It's freaking fantastic, Kendra. It's a summer series. Now, is it good for the PBR? I don't know, because they've got so many bull ridings now and so limited amount of outs for guys. You start to ask yourself, but these young guys, I'll give you an example. On the Carolina Cowboys, a guy that I'd never heard of, this Clay Guyton, bull riding machine. Never heard, I hadn't heard of him. I mean, I heard his name, but I never thought of him as the juice. But Brady Fielder on the Rattlers, these are guys that, Kendra, they ride a lot of bulls consistently. So does Sage, right? So it is a great event. Hats off to Sean Gleason. Sean and I have had our arguments in the past, but hats off to Sean Gleason, Luke Kaufman, those guys that produced that event. They had 32,000 people at T-Mobile, Kendra. 32,000 people come watch teams. And people with green hair, they dyed their hair green because they were the Austin Gambler fans. You look at signs and people out there and you're like, they're getting closer to this looking like an NFL game. So hats off. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's demographics that reaches beyond our traditional.
And there's nothing wrong with traditional. This is just different.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's an accompanied. It's beyond, but in addition to, that's cool. And by the way, since we're talking about bull riders, our little buddy Hayden Welsh, who set a record for money won on a permit this year, just won the Mountain States Circuit Finals. And so he's off to a pretty cool rookie year.
What a cool kid. Wasn't he a cool kid? How can you not pull for him? How can you not pull for him?
No. Yeah. And I also have to say, talking about bull riders, that our friend Lane Frost, who his birthday, I always remember that Ty Murray's birthday is October 11th. Lane Frost's birthday is October 12th. He would have been 62 this year. And then Joe Beaver, I think, is October 13th. So those 3 days were have a lot of historic significance. But Lane just got his star on the Texas Trail of Fame on October 23rd, a few days ago. And I just, it always laughs at me because I'll be walking along around in the stockyards and I see a star like Trevor's star or something, and I just stop and I step back and I just have to stare at it. And now there's another one that I've never seen this yet, and I can hardly wait to see Lane Frost's star on the Texas Trail of Fame. So that's That's really cool.
Well,
Right
you
there in
know
the stockyard, right in front of the Cowtown Coliseum.
what's funny, and I don't want to take too long on this, but a lot of these people that didn't experience Lane, right? Like those of us did, they hear Lane Frost, but you had to have sat with Lane, like both of us did, and just had a conversation to appreciate what we lost. It wasn't just a good bull rider, right? If you look at his family, right? And I feel bad because people hear Lane Frost, especially these younger generation, right? And they think, oh, he was a great bull rider. He was a great bull rider, but he was what a cowboy should be. And you knew that if you sat with him. Correct me if I'm wrong. You probably sat with him more than I did, but I did. I was just a clown, rodeo clown. He was just freaking cool. Like would sit down and talk to you and talk about anything and have a great conversation. And he walked away and you're like, golly, that's a cool dude, right? Like a
He
really
was
cool guy.
genuinely nice, and when he asked you a question, he looked you in the eye and waited for you to answer. And I mean, I don't care if it's a kid, it's an old man, I don't care. And I watched him do it so many times, and that was a great human being.
Good.
And what a privilege that we got to know him.
Amen.
So I also wanted to mention I have another sad note and I have a happy note before we get back to anything else you want to talk about. Jim Nichols just died, and I had kind of a special connection with him and his family. Jim was at the PRCA. At one time, he ran Procom. He was the director of radio administration. He ran circuits. He did a lot of things at the office. And for me personally, there's never been a better wife than Leslie Nichols, by the way. But and of course, NFR barrel racer Shaylee's dad. They were so special to me because, unlike my second baby who wouldn't take a bottle, after a 3-month maternity leave, I went back to work after I had my Lane. And Jim and Leslie and little bitty Shaylee lived up the hill 3 minutes from the office. And so Shaylee and Leslie would hold him, and then I'd run up the hill and nurse him all the time, you know. And so Jim, the only crossword I ever had with Jim Nichols was when I was hell bent that Lane would never taste sugar until after he turned 1. And I would catch him. I'd run up there to feed him, and I'd catch him holding Lane on his lap and feeding him Leslie's red velvet cake when he was like a tiny baby. And I'm like, no. But
That's great.
those people have been very special. And this is a hard one. The only other person I've known who had pancreatic cancer was Louis Field. And pancreatic cancer is a bitch. And it's like, oh my God. And Leslie called me the other day to let me know, what was going on. And I didn't realize that we would, lose him so soon. So that's a tough one for a lot of people and for me personally. On a happier note, after 95 days in the hospital, our 2015 world champion bareback rider, Steven Peebles, is finally home. And holy moly, an acute pancreatitis attack back in July is what sent him to the hospital, but he had who knows how many surgeries, but he was on life support in the beginning. It was very much touch and go for a while. The fact that he's home and
has his
now,
baby in his arms.
Oh my God, Chloe's 5, I think, unless she's had a birthday lately. And that, I think, has been his, motivation, because it would have been pretty easy to give up, right? And anyway, I mean, just 10 years ago, he was our world champion. And that, he just went through hell, but hopefully he's back. And I have put up how people, if they want to, can help him, because I can't even fathom what his medical bills look like. So,
well, and let's clarify this. If Kendra, all you people need to listen to this, because her and I have had this conversation. If she puts up how to help people, it's direct. There's no BS. It's directly to them. So if you ever want to actually help someone directly, pay attention to Santos' posts, because what she gives you, she makes sure that double sure that this isn't getting processed, isn't going through the system. This is going to them. So if you've got a little bit and you're sitting at home, get out there and help some of these people. A little bit helps, people. A little bit helps.
A little bit, because there are so many of us, and if we could all do a little bit. And in the case of Steven, his mom Amy has been the person I've been in touch with when at times when he wasn't even conscious. And so imagine how exhausted and how relieved also now she is, because she works full time, and she was like, she called it the triangle: her home and the hospital and her job. And she's been sleepless for over 3 months. And so anyway, thank God that this is kind of a miraculous turn of events for Steven. So
praise the Lord.
Yes. Anyway.
Well, I think we'll finish up today with a little feedback. We only have a couple. So we want to make sure that all of our fans know that we read the feedback and don't ignore it. And you're going to see from today that we don't ignore it, even though I would like to. We don't ignore feedback. So we're going to go through feedback. The first one is feedback on an email from our YouTube channel. And it was just a nice one. It says, love this episode. And it was the one with Rory. Our fans really liked the episode with Reno and Rory because they're so astute in our game, and the things they said was so interesting. And I agree. We loved our podcast with Reno and with Rory Lemmel. Great info about production. Fun to think about the what ifs for the NFR, which we kind of teased a little bit. And it said, yes, have them back and more discussion. So we're contemplating a roundtable. And in that roundtable, we have Reno and Rory and us to discuss things. I think that one would be pretty testy.
We might get arrested.
We might get shut down, but you'll get an IV of the truth when you hear that one. I promise you. Okay, this one is the one that I think is great. This is from the 814, which I think is somewhere in the Northeast. I didn't know where it was at back when I first got it, but I'm going to read it. Here we go. The premise of the podcast in general is awesome. However, I can't stand to hear Tommy Joe Lucia drone on with his committee man opinions. When he starts, I immediately hit the skip 30 seconds ahead button. What really gets me is when Kendra points out facts, with facts, by the way, that he's wrong. And he calls her a communist. I've said something, a statement is communistic. I have never called her a communist. She said that, but it's not the truth. But let me get back to the quote. He calls her a communist or mutes her mic. Again, never have we ever muted Kendra's mic. Her cell phone service may have been shitty, but it had nothing to do. We never mute her mic, by the way. He mutes her mic. He has plenty to say, but I'm not sure anyone cares to hear what he has to say. So, 814, I'm so sorry that you've had to hit fast forward the last 30 seconds while I've been talking. And I'm so sorry that you have zero appreciation for the opinions or the perspectives of the rodeo committees and producers in this industry. We have such little to do with the competition. So I'm sorry that you really detest what we have to say. I don't give three flips if you like what I have to say, because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue to tell you what I think, all of you what I think, because I'm not in a popularity contest. So there you have it. Kendra, what do you say to 814 that says that we really, and I know I annoy the crap out of you too, but that's our feedback.
I think the word communist has come up a time or two here.
I
And
should have said socialist.
you
I
know,
shouldn't
but
say
I think
communist.
and for example, I think it may have come up because we respectfully agree to disagree on whether or not timed events should be done in thousandths of a second to or hundredths of a second to break ties, for example. Uh, Sometimes I do go silent when somebody pisses me off rather than say too much that I might regret later. But yeah, if you have the ability to cut my mic, I'm not aware of it, but
We haven't. I swear to God, nobody's
yeah,
cut your
no, I don't.
mic.
No, I
And
don't.
and
I
and by the way, when I say socialism, let me just clarify this. I think our country has too much of give every kid a blue ribbon. I'm sorry. That everybody has to feel like they're a winner because it's the losers that support the systems by putting money into it. Because if we want to get our sport to where it belongs, the guys that kick ass get paid. And they don't get paid by the people that lose. They get paid by sponsors and fans. So I'm sorry if you don't like that. And when I say socialist, it's you know how I am, Kendra. You and I also disagree about top loading the prize money, right? I
well,
want a winner to walk away with enough money that they can pay
okay.
10 payments on the ranch.
Okay, and I want big money for cowboys and cowgirls is like part of my life's work. I'm all about it. And in this particular example, I will just say that we won't go back and beat it at horse, but the human reaction time intense is enough for me in the timed events because you have a flagger and timers, and I don't care if they're the most perfect ones we have. Still, there's that, and the difference could be between winning 50,000 for first and 25,000 for second place in your scenario where we're going to break the tie by hundreds where hey, Martha could have just taken half a blink and that could have been the difference for one guy 50 or 25. Whereas if you have a tie, each guy is going to get 37.5 or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
And
And that when
I
you're
agree. I agree in our current situation where you've got two timers at the other end of the arena pushing a button. I'm just saying that there is AI, there is technology out there, right? That could
we don't
remove.
know that. We
No,
don't know
no,
that.
I know that. It's there.
I
It's there, young lady.
I
There
don't
are.
know, young man, except for I'll say this on AI, where I'm not that impressed as a journalist, is when I see people. How many times now am I going to watch a 10-month-old baby or a 400-pound 80-year-old woman riding a bikini, riding a bucking horse or a bull because it's all AI and it's like
Yeah,
this is funny. I
but that
mean,
is, honestly, that would be comparing. What I'm saying is that there is technology that can look at video, right? And see when the exact moment that that animal, right, breaks the chute plane. The
yeah,
exact
I don't know about
moment.
the technology. I don't know about the technology. I'm all ears. And
But
if
it can do it. It looks at it and it says it broke the plane now. Like there was no, I was behind the chute gate. I was on the other side at the announcer stand. My nose itched at the time.
okay, if it's
Okay, it's
ready to
there.
go, why haven't
I don't know why we haven't used it. But so my point is I agree with you in our current system. I
okay.
agree with you. I'm just saying that when we choose to take the leap, right? To take the leap to where the technology that's available actually does this. Like, for instance, markouts. There is technology out there that can actually, with video, prove and see where those spurs are. Like it's there. Like when they're able to tell if the basketball went through the hoop before the last 16th of a second. So it's there. We haven't got there yet. And I agree with you. Until we do, there should be some forgiveness. However, I love changing lives. I love to see the two young team ropers that entered that were in part of the Utah Days of 47 rodeo that had never won that kind of money. And had we paid 10 places, which I understand is probably more fair, we wouldn't have been able to have that kind of impact and that kind of confidence, right? The Wyatt Denny's that won the Utah Days of 47 Rodeo, all of a sudden they win big money and they think they can beat the guys, right? We know it's mental. They go out there and they start Wayshishala. Wayshishala at our rodeo rides a bareback horse that he didn't really know if he could ride. He kicks his ass and he says, you know what? I can ride bareback horses with the big boys. He said that. To me, that just makes my heart get big. Doesn't it you? You're like, yes, you can. Go kick their butts. I think it's cool. I think it's cool.
It's all cool. Cowboys making more money. The end.
We both agree on that. We both agree on that. How you cut the pie up, how you do it, we have our conversation. So 814, wherever you're at, sorry that you don't like me, but until I get whacked, I'm probably going to be a part of this podcast. And I agree with you. The most temperament, nicest, kindest, most level-headed person in this twosome is Kendra. But let me tell you something. If you knew my dad, genetics aren't going to change. Those of you who knew my dad, you know how I am. Kendra knows my dad. I got two sharp sides to me, and that's what it is. I'm going to tell you what I think. We can agree to disagree all day long. And I do. Here's what I want all of the viewers to know. I respect Kendra's opinion, and I listen to it. And if this country would do more of listening to everybody's thoughts and then agreeing that we don't agree on the final solution, but just listening to the other side, which I was taught in debate back in college. The number one thing you do is listen to the other side. That's how you win the debate. You don't win the debate by having all the facts on your side. You win the debate by listening to the other side. Wouldn't it be a refreshing thing? Maybe the United States government wouldn't be shut down for 13 days if a couple of these people up there would listen to the other side and do what's right instead of what's right for them.
And as a journalist, I was trained to present all the facts. You gather and present all the facts and let people decide for themselves. That's the way it's supposed to go.
Which is why you're trusted in the industry. It's why if people want real news in our industry, they look at you. That's just the truth. It's not, I'm not trying to flatter you, but the truth is if you want the real story, you read Kendra Santos, which is why when I started No Spin Rodeo, I'm like, there's only one person. There's only one person out there that'll feed it up and will fight me till she dies if she doesn't believe it. And that's Kendra Santos. So great one you know what? The great thing is I have a fantastic co-host that you believe in, and keep listening. Keep listening, keep forwarding 30 seconds. I don't care. You might find something out that actually is worthwhile. Our goal, is this not true, Kendra? When we started this, our goal is to impact the industry on an honest level approach. Would you agree?
Yeah, in a positive, to have a positive impact, and again based on the facts, and that we do appreciate people taking the time, and you should tell people and remind people how they can give us their feedback, because we really do appreciate it, because it brings up some great conversation and we have access to find the answers that not everybody has. We'd love to find out for you if we don't know already.
So I'll give you guys the information, but we talked about the back number thing. We were talking about back number. I would like to poll our fans if you're okay with it. I would like to send out a poll to our fans, and I'm going to challenge our fans to send us feedback. Now I'm going to give it 2 times. I'm going to give it at the first of the poll and then at the last. If you want to give us feedback, you can text us at 817-668-2395. That's 817-668-2395. Or you can email us at nospinfeedback@gmail.com. That's nospin, NOSPIN, feedback, FEEDBACK, @gmail.com. That's how you reach us. I'm going to pitch something out there. I'm going back to the back number thing, and we'll end the night with this. So I produce the show, and I work with the PRC on this. There are several awards where you don't know who wins. It's 5 nominees, right? Clown of the Year, No, right? 5 nominees. Well, let me give you a little background. I get texts and emails all the time from the nominees as the producer of the show saying, do not bring us on stage. It's embarrassing if we don't win. I respond to them with, really? To be the top 5 in 700 rodeos for your peers to select you as the top 5 to get that recognition is cool. So there's a level of uncomfort in the humility of our culture to be on stage and lose, right? To not, and then, to smile and shake the hand, say, well, congratulations for winning 26 times in a row. We really are happy you won again, but we're really not happy you won again. And we're going to go off and everybody's watching us smile. So there's a little bit of debate between the PRCA and I about whether or not we bring the top 5 nominees on stage live, right, Kendra? Walk them up there, let them be recognized, and then announce the winner. Drum roll, winner, kind of America's Got Talent style. And the losers got to shake everybody's hands and leave and get their plaques. The winner gets to... Or would it be better to put the slides up of the 5 nominees, right? You see them on video. Maybe you see a camera shot of them at their table, right? And then the winner comes up. Now, let me tell you why we did it with the 5 on stage. We did it to make the show quicker. Because do you remember when the awards banquet, when we had announced the winner, and they would be all the way in the very back of the room, and by the time they hugged and kissed and patted babies and high-fived, it took them 3 minutes to get to the stage, and the awards banquet took literally 5 hours? Do you remember that?
Yes.
So that's kind of why we brought them on stage. So what I'm challenging our no spinners, give us some feedback. I'm going to give you the way to reach us. Do you think that it's better to recognize them on stage and they should be proud of being in the top 5 and should come on stage? Or do you think it's better to just recognize the 5 and announce the winner? All right. Challenge, no spinners. We want to know what you think, because I'm going to pass that on to the executives at the PRCA and see if we can make any movement. I'm going to repeat again how to reach us. You can text us. We don't ever look at the numbers. We only get the area code. Text us at 817-668-2395, 817-668-2395, or email us at nospinfeedback@gmail.com. Now, I've done a lot of talking, and our 814 guy has had to hit 30 seconds for like 5 times. Kicking it over you to close the show, young lady.
I guess it's appropriate for me to hold my feelings about that for the next time when we look. Whatever you want to do.
You can hold them. What do you think, though? I'm interested. What do you think we should do?
I do have an opinion about it. And last year, part of my opinion is for being there for decades now. But last year being behind, it was an amazing honor to get the PRCA's Media Award. So I was back behind the stage with some of those people, like the Photographer of the Year people and stuff. And there was absolute dread. Those people had absolute dread about going up there. And then I watched it too, some of it from the table or whatever. And the awkward, to me, one thing it does that's a big delay that's awkward is those poor people, say if it's Announcer of the Year and there's 5 guys up there, well, then they go, and the winner is, but then those other 4, like the winner wants to be gracious, and then he's like, well, I better go hug or shake the hands of all the other 4 people. The other 4 people are like, where the hell's the door? Get me out of here. It's awkward. It's a little bit awkward, and I'm not sure.
So you would vote for no.
I would vote for, I can understand where somebody's heart was coming from to get up there and have your day in the sun, 5 people. But when you say, and the winner is, man, it's an uncomfortable
I appreciate that. I guess I just think that being in the top 5 is a big deal.
It is a great honor for sure.
It's a big deal.
And I think, but just so many of those people have said to me, "Oh my God, I thought I wanted to die. I wanted to find a hole to get out of there. Like you can't."
Tommy
do I
Joe,
go on?
if they brought the 5 Danita Barnes up there, I'd be like, hey, people, one of the top 5. Don't care if I win. One of the top 5. I'm in the cool group. Anyway, that's what I would say. But I'm not everybody. But I appreciate your opinion. And I think that's what you're saying is the big reason that this is a controversy. So we're interested in what the No Spinners think. And we'll make a decision on that for the awards show. So that's a little behind the curtain stuff. And you know, I've had a lot of the contract personnel say, don't send me up there. Please don't send me up there. Please don't send me up there. And we listen. You know, you have to understand we listen. We try to do what's best for the entertainment, right? For the fans. Because you got to remember there's a lot of people out there watching on Cowboy Channel that don't know who you are. And when they see a face and they're like, oh, that was the barrel man at our rodeo. He's in the top 5. So there's a little bit on both sides. You see what I'm saying? I get
Yes.
it. I get it. I get it.
I do see. And in Vegas, dear goodness, not only was that ballroom packed, but the ballroom across the hallway was packed, right? I mean,
We're
that's
killing
the
it. We're killing it at the
yeah.
Back Number and Awards. It's the place to be. And that's good because I remember when we started, it was you only bought a ticket if you thought you might win, right? You remember those days, right?
And also on back number night for you cheapskates, free food.
Free. Show your butt up to the South Point. Gamble a little bit. Have some of the great food. Ryan Growney, he's such a great guy. I know I played in the Western Sports Foundation charity golf tournament at Vegas. A quick side deal. We played. I had Tim Keener, president of Las Vegas, on my team. Utah Days of 47 Rodeo bought a team. It's a big expense team, but it's to help the Western Sports Foundation, who's kind of concentrating on mental health awareness for PRCA cowboys and PBR guys, helping them with mental stuff. It's a really cool thing. It was a great golf tournament. I will say this. I hope Sean Gleason's listening. Sean Gleason's team won again. And you know what, Sean? You guys might be good golfers or have really fat erasers because our team played pretty good. I had Brad Narducci's little brother, Jacob. When you drive the ball 200, 300, 400 yards like that, I was the worst guy on our team. I was terrible. But I had Todd from Source One Events. We played good. Sean, you and your team probably cheated. That's all I got to say. But that was a random thing. Anyway, last thoughts, Kendra, or I'll sign off for episode 82.
I think we're going to have to shut ourselves down. We could go on all night. Let's wait till next time.
I love spending an hour with you every Tuesday. Thanks for being a co-host. Thanks for being this show. You're a wonderful person and a great friend of mine. Thank all of you for listening. Thank you those people that skip me. Thank you for all of you. Thank all of you for being a part of this show. This has been episode 82. It's October 28th. We'll see you in a week. God bless all of you. Be safe. Look around. Nothing's guaranteed. Have a great night.